for himself because I asked a logical question.
Pogan asked at the beginning of the conversation if God was the necessary.
But I asked logical question, and he can answer right now. So you don't have to give us a recap if he's right here to give us the answer.
Okay.
So logic, is it necessarily the case where it's definitively uncontrovertible that this God created all the natural laws, or is it possible God made all the natural laws?
All right, I'll do that right now. Yeah, I believe that it's necessary. However, I'm going to argue why it's both ways. Why even if somebody wants to believe in the possible ways, like there was a petition.
They're two separate statements.
Yeah, I know. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show you what I argued before. I don't actually think you were here. I argued before, yeah. This is the four ways I think that I've seen and I've heard about everywhere that the universe could come, yeah. The universe from nothing, the universe from something, the universe itself was always here, or the universe came from a creator.
Huh?
The universe from nothing, number one. Number two, universe from something. Number three, universe was always here. Number four, the universe from a creator.
Well, I mean, that just doesn't follow.
Why?
Because there's nothing in the... I mean, it's probably not valid. I'd have to write it out. But let's assume that it was structured in a semi-comprehensible way, right?
Wait.
There's nothing from those premises... I don't know why it's necessary to look. I'm trying to explain to you why it's just problematic, right? There's nothing in those premises that suggests a creator. It's merely the case that if the premises were to be granted, you've established that the universe had a cause, an antecedent cause. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a creator. You're just sort of inserting the idea of a creator into the conclusion with no prior establishment.
I don't think that's what he was doing, Pogan. I think what he's trying to say is that you have these four options, they're mutually exclusive
I thought he was giving
jointly exhaustive, right? Sorry, they're mutually well, I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but I think this is what he's trying to say. He's saying you have four options, they're mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, and now he's going to give you a case for why it didn't come from nothing, it didn't come from something, it wasn't always here, and given that he's eliminated all of those, he's just going to have this disjunctive argument for God. That's what I think he's going to do.
He didn't say they were jointly exhaustive.
If that's the case, it's fine, right? I thought those were premises in an argument. If you're just saying these are the steps we're going to take together on this journey of learning, I mean, go ahead. Like each of those is going to need an argument.
Are you going to let him finish?
Okay, so what the main issue?
It's not your fault. Yeah, it's not your fault. Look, I'm gonna appeal to the room real quick. Can somebody please just like handle concrete? I'm trying to have a nice conversation here.
You're being very patronizing. Please let him finish.
Hear me out now. Look, it's my turn to speak here. Earlier, when you agreed with me that in front of the line there was this never-ending people, this is very key. This is what relates to the subcomment, yeah? In front of you, if there's a never-ending line, you agreed that you'd never get your turn, right? You were in agreement, yeah?
Right.
Okay. The reason why I linked that to why we can't have an infinite regress, yeah, this is why I linked it. Imagine now this universe. Have you heard of crunch theory? Yeah.
What theory?
Crunch theory. It's like when this universe expands and it contracts.
It's like a series of big bangs over and over again.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So the reason why we can't have an infinite crunch theory is because of this. Imagine before this universe was caused by universe A. Universe A was caused by universe B. Universe B was caused by universe C. That was caused by universe D. This went on, never ending. Yeah? What this means is, that's what we call an infinite regress. Yeah? What this means is, if that was the case, we'd never have this turn for this universe. Because all of those universes before had to have had their turn first.
I don't understand.
They would have had to have an infinite amount of time to do that. It's almost like the past eternal model says you've had an infinite amount of time prior.
Here's the issue.
Notice how the professor doesn't understand these simple concepts and yet wants to profess.
What I meant when I said I didn't understand.
You don't understand what I'm saying. Like my accent is very bad. My accent is very dog shit.
Have this debate. If you were debating someone, I would keep other people out of it. If it was,
so you don't want Pogan to be scrutinized? Okay, no problem. I'll let him run roughshod over this gentleman. Go ahead.
Look, I'm not running.
Bro, I actually thank Concrete for helping me out because I actually got a name called a few seconds ago. Even in the chat, I'm getting name called. I don't give a shit. Thank you, Concrete. You're the man.
To be fair, Concrete and this new guy were tag teaming everyone else. So if Concrete is jumping in, it's because both of them have been battling all the atheists. So
Yeah,
No. I
just
actually
to give context.
I got name called.
Concrete was your
I mean,
first
just
forepost.
I can
Anyway.
I can logic dictate. I can steelman your argument if you want to.
Okay, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Steelman.
means
That
he's
means
going to give a stronger form of it.
I steelman your argument. So basically, what he's arguing is something along these lines. If the universe is beginningless, then there is no first event. If it's the case that an event can only occur if the event before it had occurred, that's what he was saying with the line things. What he was trying to say is that if it's the case that an event can only occur if the event before it occurred, then there is a first event. It is the case that an event can only occur if the event before it had occurred. Therefore, there is a first event. Therefore, the universe began to exist. And I formalized the argument in the text.
Yeah, I would just grant the argument. Right? I don't like. It's not even an issue to grant that argument. What I'm failing to, Venus, I think you understand the issue. What I'm failing to understand is how that
giving him.
created.
Yeah, you're giving him that the universe has a cause. Now you're just going to ask him, was it cause the creator?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That argument can be granted.
I know. Okay, that's perfect, yeah. But the issue I had with you from the beginning was, because you agreed with my argument with the McDonald's line, why didn't you agree with the infinite regress? And now I just showed why it's linked. Do you now agree with the infinite, why we can't have an infinite regress?
I'm saying I agree with the argument that Venus described in text chat.
Okay, so we can't have a infinite amount of universes before this universe, right? That all had to have had their turn.
Sure.
Perfect. We can't have infinite. That's what I was trying to get at. Now we're on levels, yeah. That for the past 3 hours, I was trying to argue with actually maybe some people, and they couldn't understand that. Anyways, now yeah, because we can't have that, that means sure the universe came from something, but it has to be it has to have come to a stop, right?
It has to have come to a stop.
It has to come to a stop where they can't be.
You're talking about the regress. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yes, there has to be a first cause. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're left with the last two. Yeah, the last two was the universe itself is actual infinite, no beginning, no end. Because if this is the case, that means there's no need for another thing that's always there.
Isn't
right?
that contradicting the argument that you just gave me like 10 seconds ago, where you established the universe did begin to exist?
Bro, I'm saying if somebody wants to believe that the universe has no beginning or end, yeah? Like if let's say somebody wants to believe that the universe is actual infinite.
Okay.
That would mean then they don't have to technically believe in a God.
Yeah.
Okay.
And?
My point is that this universe isn't actually infinite. Isn't actual infinite.
Look, I again.
Why does that mean you have to believe in a God?
All of this can be granted. This is what I've been trying to say for like 10 minutes, right?
Okay.
All of this stuff about cause and effect and establishing the universe had an initial cause can be granted. All of it can be granted. What you're not going to be able to do, probably, is show me that the cause is necessarily a disembodied mind you would call God. That's what we're struggling to comprehend, right? That's the argument we're searching for.
So you're saying that it could have been just something that didn't have a mind?
Yeah, you would have to show that it was necessarily the case it was God. You can't even show. I'll be done in a second. You can't even show. You can't even try to like show it's not some other cause through contradiction, because you would have to show all other conceivable causes are false, which modally speaking is a very difficult burden. So I think your best route would be to show that it's necessarily the case it was God. And since it's a claim of necessity, it's going to require a deductive argument. So what is the argument?
This is such trash.
I don't even know what's going on, but like,
He's trying to steer the conversation to his advantage. That's all.
Okay, you know what? I don't know yet. If that's the case, who cares? Because you know what? At least I got to someone today, yeah, somewhat.
Are you saying you don't? Let's just clarify. Are you saying you do not have an argument for that?
I do have an argument. Trust me, I have an argument. My argument is as follows, yeah? My argument is as follows. If now we don't have these other three ways, and now we have this potential way. When I say creator, yeah, I don't mean God. That's the misconception. I'm saying creator, yeah. Whoever this
That's not
creator
relevant.
may be, why is
That's
it not
not-
relevant?
Well, because look, we're not arguing about the term. We're arguing about why it's the case we would accept your explanation for the cause, as
And I'll
opposed
get to that.
any
Because
other
I-
conceivable explanation.
I'll get to that, but I don't think I get the chance to explain it. Yeah. So my point is, yeah, a creator. Well, I believe in God. You don't believe in God. A creator is different to a God. What's the difference? What's the difference between? This is the argument you were making.
Look. We could just change it to talking about a creator as opposed to a god, whatever the distinction is supposed to be. And I'm going to ask you the same question, right? Why is it the case that that's necessarily the cause?
I twist the language up a bit, right? Because like it seems like what's going to be argued now that we've established sort of like whether or not there is another cause or no cause, right? The question is whether or not that cause is intentional or non-intentional, right?
That's the issue. Whether it's intentional or non-intentional, yeah. This is the issue we're going to attack. Because you know, this is what. But if you guys let me finish, you're gonna hear me out. You're gonna hear my side, even though you guys don't want me to word it the way you want me to word it. You're gonna hear it. A creator could have made this universe without a purpose, or just like leave it.
Saying could is not effective at all, because again, you're not saying it's possible that happened. You're saying it's necessarily the case that happened. That's your burden. We need an argument that shows necessarily that your explanation for the cause of the universe obtains.
Okay, hear me out. I'm gonna do my way. Whether you like it or not, I don't know if you're gonna like it. You probably won't like it. But hear me out. So there's two possibilities for this creator. Yeah, a creator could have created this world with a purpose, but the main one is
why would we grant the presupposition that there's a creator?
Because that's what we've come to now.
No, we haven't. All you've established is that the universe had a cause.
Right, yeah.
Not even a cause, just a first event.
Yeah, first event. Now what's in question is whether or not it's intentional or unintentional. But if you mean, because if you mean that creating, if a creator can be an unintentional event, right? Like, you know, a volcano popping into existence and then erupting and being the creator of lava spewing forth or whatever like that, right? Then I don't think any of us are going to have a problem with that, but that's not what you mean, is it?
Right. So in layman's terms, the issue... I almost died. In layman's terms... Fuck! In layman's terms, the issue is this, right? You've established that there is an antecedent condition, right, after which the universe came into existence. And as Alex very eloquently just said, the antecedent condition could be fucking anything. Right? So long as it doesn't pose a contradiction, it's conceivable that that's the antecedent condition. There's no reason to think that your explanation, a god or a creator or whatever you want to call it, is the condition.
So now this is where we come here. I need some space. I don't know what's going on, but I know what you guys are saying, kinda. But look, do
you want to? Wait. Let me make a suggestion. Do you want to take a step back from the argument, and I'll DM you what I've said, and you can think of an argument and then come back?
No.
That's an option.
No. I'm gonna literally tell you what I think now. Like, this is what I think now.
Yeah, but I know what you think.
What do I think? What do I think? Tell me.
You think that the cause was a creator.
I'm saying whether it be a non with no sense or not. Yeah. This is the part we've eliminated by deduction. We've eliminated those three other possibilities. We've got a first mover, whether it be with a brain or not with a brain. Astaghfirullah. Whether it be with a sense or with no sense. Yeah. It has to have either a sense or no sense. Yeah. Now we're left with these two positions. Yeah. What now? This is where I'm gonna go inductively. Yeah. With the
you can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't go because you're not arguing. Your argument isn't inductive, right? Your argument is deductive. So if you're using an inductive argument to support a conclusion that's necessary, right? It's just going to be tangential to the conclusion.
I don't think he knows what tangential means.
Okay.
By tangential, I just mean... By tangential, I just... Hold on. By tangential, I just mean it's going to have no bearing on the conclusion. It's not relevant, right? That's what I mean. Because it's not an inductive claim, it's a deductive claim.
Okay, so my deduction from that, okay, from this now, let me use deduction then. So we have a nonsense mover, and then a sense with a sense mover, yeah? My deduction is as follows. If we have all these laws, yeah, these natural laws, yeah, I'm going to go into design. Does design argument support this, yes or no?
What?
Does
The
design
argument is a
argument
question?
No, I'm asking, does design argument, yeah, support deduction? Of course it does, right?
I don't understand what you're even asking.
Does the design argument support deduction?
No, it's usually given inductively. It's usually a matter of probability. Right? People usually use it to show that it was probably the case that God existed because he probably designed laws, specifically natural laws, for a given purpose, presumably the existence of his creation. That's not a deductive argument, typically.
He's going off Hamza Tzortzis, who does try to use it deductively.
I mean, I just need the argument, though. Right? I mean, that's the crux of the issue. You can say whatever you like probabilistically, but you've affirmed several times, that the claim is a necessary one. So all of that's going to be totally irrelevant to your claim.
So now, all right, fine.
Like he says, either the universe came from something, it came from nothing, or it had an infinite past, or it came from Allah. And he goes through arguments for why the first three are impossible, therefore it must be Allah.
What are you talking about? What is it called? Hamza Tzortzis?
That's the name of the Muslim apologist that he basically copies William Lane Craig.
Oh, I mean, I'll read about that in a second. Hopefully there's a Wikipedia page, but
well, I mean,
at this point, I kind of, like, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I kind of just want you to concede that you don't have a deductive argument.
But my deduction now is that now we have this last point, yeah, it's fine, right? Is all of what I've said so far, is that fine that we have this last condition?
No.
Why
no,
not?
Because you tried to give an inductive argument for a deductive claim. Of course that's not fine.
Forget that part then. Let's go back to what we were doing. We were in deductive process. We eliminated the three previous ones. Then we were on the last one. The last one, whether if this creator has a sense or no sense, yeah?
What?
We with the 4 ways that we had, yeah? With the 4 ways that we had.
At this point, he wants to say, right, that with the creator being the primary causal event, whatever it may be, we're now in the point when he uses the word sense. I assume you mean things like intentions and beliefs and something like that, right? You're meaning like personhood, right? Now we're at the point where we're establishing whether or not the event, the first cause, the primary thing, whatever.
Is he just setting up a dichotomy where it's either an agent or it's not an agent?
I think so, but that should be the next step, right?
Yeah, so affirm the part of the dichotomy that says it was an agent then, right? What's the argument for that? Same question.
So my point is now, if we're left with that, yeah, if we're left with that, fine. I want to now move on to an inductive argument. That's my point. I don't care if it. I know you don't say it doesn't work like that. But
so now you're just saying it's probably the case that God created natural laws.
I mean,
I'm saying if a statistician said it's 0.01% chance that a nonsense mind.
That's not. Hold on, that's not the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking if you're abandoning the deductive claim in favor of an inductive one. Is that the case? Because you haven't given an argument for the deductive claim. That's what we've been concerned with for the last half an hour or so.
And there's going to be a problem, I think, right? Because if you're going to go into the inductive claim, the deductive claim, you mean, he's abandoning the deductive claim. If you're now going to go into inductive claims, right, it seems like you're going to want to argue God versus everything else that could possibly be the cause.
Right.
And that just sounds like a very tiresome conversation.
Unless you affirm that it was God or a creator or whatever you're asserting, if you try to run an argument that shows other explanations for the antecedent.
What about purpose? Does purpose fit in?
Can you?
what?
I mean,
What?
can you explain how?
Okay, so I'd say that you have a purpose.
I do.
Okay, so does
No,
that mean?
that was a question. Do I have a? What do you mean?
Okay, so you know purpose, yeah? It means like you live for something, right?
Yeah, I know what the word means.
Okay, fine. So if a non-sensible agent made you, does that mean you have no purpose?
I don't understand why. Look, are you trying to show that if I affirm purpose, it must be God?
I'm saying if we were created with all these natural laws, yeah, with natural laws present.
I just reject. Let me explain why I asked that. I just reject that I have a purpose. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have an argument for me having a purpose?
I'm saying that you're here, you're alive, yeah. You have natural laws, yeah,
Okay.
that all support, and then this earth that supports life,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Can we
Yeah.
not say that it has a purpose?
Why would we? All of those things can be purely incidental.
Incidental.
Purpose.
And-
Yeah. Right.
Incidental.
Yeah, just
Incidental.
yeah, without a purpose.
Accidental is probably a better way to say it.
Accidental.
Sure.
So you're
Said
telling
no
me,
one intended them to happen; they just happened.
okay. That's crazy. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Though
Well,
accidental.
why would somebody
Yeah,
think
but,
that?
yeah, but I mean,
Why would somebody
saying
think
it,
is trouble.
I mean,
do you
saying it. Look, saying it's crazy isn't
Wait,
an
so-
argument, though, right?
You know, yeah,
Well, it's
that's
so- it's
literally the absence of
primitive.
an argument
It's
saying it's
so-
great.
It's primitive to say it's accidental.
Primitive?
Why? Look, okay, let's divorce ourselves from these weird adjectives, right? We're merely saying it's possible it's the case that Earth, the universe, me, you, Luke, Godless, everybody in this room came into existence merely by accident. That is to say, there is no purpose behind it. We're just collections of atoms assembled through mechanistic processes, right? There's no intention there. Hold on.
Yeah.
There's no intention there, right? Now, you want to say that there is, in fact, an intention behind our creation, that something had a reason to create us and has a purpose for us. And the question, I think you know where this is going by now, the response to that is, what's the argument?
Mm-hmm. So I'm saying a nonsensible, let's say your agent, what was it? Nonsense, no agent, whatever, no sense agent. It wouldn't make anything for a purpose, yeah, because it has no sense, yeah. But then an agent with sense would make things for a purpose, or it would not.
I'm confused. What's the argument for? Well, let's take a step back. Let's try to understand what we're talking about here. Now,
Yeah.
I take it that your claim is that we have a purpose.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm simply asking for the argument for that position, right? If you ask me a question like, is it the case that it's a sense agent or non-sense agent? That doesn't seem like it's an argument for your position.
Oh my days. So I want to actually ask you something.
Questions are fine later. Do you have an argument or do you not?
I'm asking you, this is where I've come to now. I don't know if I can
Look,
go
I'm
further with you.
not particularly. Look, when you say we can't go any further, I take it that's you saying you don't have
With
an
that,
argument.
I can't go further with that argument if I can't support it with probability.
Okay. Look, again, are you saying you don't have an argument?
I'm saying I don't have.
How long are we gonna play this game? How long are we gonna play this game, Pogan?
Pogan, I'm
Somebody
be honest
shut
with you,
up.
yeah? I don't know what rulings of which people govern these types of conversations, yeah?
Don't concern yourself with the meta, right? You are now saying it's probably the case that we have a purpose. That is to say, probabilistically, we were created with some intention behind our creation. Something has an intention for us. I am merely asking for you to provide the inductive argument for that position, which cannot come in the form of a question. It's going to be premises.
Now can I show why there has to be, yeah? Yeah? Okay, so you know your DNA.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, no, I'm gonna go better. let's say you walk into a desert, yeah? Nobody's in this desert. Nobody. No life even in this desert. This desert is isolated, as the word says, yeah?
And you find a watch.
Now, let's say you find a dictionary.
A watch. Okay, a dictionary. Okay.
What's a ledge?
That's the watch.
Watch. Okay, forget watch. Easy watch, which is good.
But Logic, you know why
Don't say
life
dictionary,
is
say cell phone.
fundamentally...
Say cell
but-
phone. They found the cell phone in the desert. Would they not know it was designed, even though they would know what it is?
Logic, you realize why life is like fundamentally disanalogous from something like a cell phone, right?
Wait, is somebody else getting in the conversation?
I'm saying,
Concrete?
no. I don't know. I'm hearing so many voices.
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question.
Somebody, look, the person that spoke to you asked a reasonable question, which is, do you understand why it is disanalogous to say that a cell phone is comparable to life and organism? He was asking if you understood the disanalogy.
Why is it?
Why
Why
can't
is it?
Concrete ask question?
Because Godless doesn't want me
An
a part of it.
obvious example. An obvious
Pogan
example.
doesn't want me a part of it. He wants to just run
Because
roughshod.
concrete is just a waste of everybody's time. I don't know why you're tolerant.
Concrete,
Yeah.
I asked you multiple times.
That's some
I
rude
asked you
things to
multiple
say,
times
man.
to just stay. I usually give you free reign
But
of the room,
atheists
Concrete.
are why
I
don't you
asked
tell
you
an atheist to
multiple
stay
times
out?
It's
to
just
stay out of it.
insane.
I
It's just
agree.
insane.
Just to
You
stay out.
lost
I
your tit
agree.
for tat
Like you
rule.
guys
I
always
don't
pick
care.
on him,
I'm
but I'm
happy to
hearing
leave
so
this
many
dumb
No,
server.
it's just insane that not only is Concrete being allowed to interrupt, he's being supported by a mod. He's being
I'm not even
encouraged.
fucking
It's just
interrupting.
crazy.
I'm a part of the
No, I'm
conversation.
saying Concrete, shut up. Concrete, shut up or I'll mute you. Stop, please.
So all the other atheists can talk then.
So
It seems like
this
that.
guy's argument is not
It seems like that.
disanalogy because of biology.
dumb.
So you want to put me on the sideline because I don't agree with you?
Oh my god!
You want to put
I
me
have
on the
to
sideline because I don't agree with you?
Hang on, I have to mute him. I just have to get to the red screen. Hang on a second.
You just contribute garbage all the time. You never say anything of any interest. That's why. It's just garbage. It's just nonstop garbage.
I don't think so. I think he has very, very fucking clear points. But you know,
Okay, hold on, guys.
It's not interesting to get into a debate about that.
I think
known Concrete for ages, right? It's just nonstop garbage all the time.
I think what Concrete's trying to say is that Pogan is speaking linear algebra to a guy that's in trigonometry. I mean, clearly this guy is not an English speaker, and he just needs kind of things to be a little bit dumbed down.
What are you talking about? He's British.
Yeah, but he's saying that he doesn't understand. So
Well,
I mean,
Diablo's
bring his
another
tone down a little bit.
Here's why.
So,
These terms
can I talk
seem
to
advanced,
Pogan and
bro.
Venus? So
Yes.
I want to help the Muslim guys. So look, if a fucking alien spaceship dropped in front of you in the forest, you wouldn't. It wasn't designed, but you wouldn't think that it fucking fell off a tree, right? You would think that maybe some alien beings, and not even necessarily biological beings, because they could have been artificial intelligence created by aliens, fucking dropped the spaceship there. But you wouldn't be so stupid that you thought, it just fell off a fucking tree. You would be able to see the difference, right?
I don't know why.
Yeah, no, she wasn't even screaming at you, right? First, I appreciate the intensity, Godless. Second, you're going to need to establish why it's the case that something like circuitry or electronics and
why
the way you just...
Are you saying that if an alien spaceship dropped you in the forest, you would think it was the natural process?
But see, I don't know.
He's literally not saying that, God.
I don't know. I don't know how.
Monkeys, look, even fucking monkeys in trees. If you put one of those nature spy cams on them, they come up and they examine the camera because they see it's out of fucking place and wasn't naturally created. Retard, you dumber than a fucking monkey.
Is just doing the Godless thing where she.
What's the property in virtue of which something is a hallmark of design?
Yeah, but nobody. Look, Jack is asking the right question. Nobody ever said that it was the case we wouldn't think it was designed, right? I don't know why you would say that. That's just a complete straw man.
So wait, you would assume it's designed?
No. Question is, what's the property in virtue of which
that makes me think it
take something to be a hallmark of design? Right.
Okay, so so now let me finish what I was saying. Yeah.
Jesus.
By the way, it feels bad for.
The question was, look, I'm not again trying to be nice to you. The question was directed to Godless.
Where's Godless? Why is she being involved? Why
She was helping you out.
Yeah, I know. Don't attack her. She's being genuine.
Nobody's attacking anyone.
She's being so straightforward with you guys. Look, you walk into the desert, you see the dictionary.
Fucking god!
Hear me out.
Yeah,
you
you
see
can just appeal to intuition when you see like some
Yeah,
sort of
your intuition
that there's seeming purpose behind something, a
Yeah,
seeming
but the
function,
point
whether
is,
you know what the function
point
is or not.
is that the point is that intuitions are not justifiers, right? That's the problem. If somebody says, "Well, I have contrary intuitions," what's the argument that you give?
Well, they're
Right,
just
that-
being
that
dishonest.
this
Because if
is-
someone says
this
that
is more.
they're just being dishonest.
Question
Someone says
is-
the human eye doesn't
question
seem to
is,
have
right,
a purpose.
Question
They're just
is-
being dishonest.
Question is, what's the argument, right, to say that something is more likely designed than undesigned, right? Given some property.
It's probably more empirically, like everybody looks at it and just thinks, like most people would agree. I
The
think.
thing is, yeah, that's just a bunch of popularity. The problem is Godless when you do the whole scream thing and try helping him out. He no longer tracks what you're doing, right? So so he's not going to be following the argument. So you're not actually helping him out.
One, I don't appreciate being screamed at. Two, again, I never said that it was the case that we wouldn't think the cell phone was designed or the alien spaceship was
But it
designed.
doesn't matter.
Would you be justified in thinking the cell phone was designed?
Well, you'd have to appeal to background knowledge to do that, right? So I'm not sure that there's an analogy in the case of the universe, right? Because we don't actually have background knowledge of people designing universe.
I'm saying, okay, fine, but I'm saying stay consistent, yeah?
So
you
the
see
point,
everything
no,
you
that's
see-
what we're doing. We're saying
Okay,
there's a
fine.
disanalogy between the two cases. So we are being consistent. You're
Right,
the one
and
who's
the-
being inconsistent.
And then, as Jack asked, you're going to need to point to the property present in both cases that would suggest.
We don't have background knowledge about spaceships either, but we would infer that the spaceship was designed.
I agree.
If we know that spaceships are the kinds of things that are produced by agents, right, that gives us background knowledge to believe that when we encounter one, that it was designed, right?
Yeah,
we
so
don't
say
have
a
background
spaceship
knowledge.
dropped in front of you that looked just like
the universe is way
solar
more
system, like it had
complicated
these
than that.
things, these balls gravitating around each other
I
and stuff.
understand why
Wouldn't
you
you?
aren't addressing the objection.
Which is analogous
She's a
to the
dumb
solar
bitch. Why are you
system.
talking to her, Jack?
The point is, right, if you can appeal to background knowledge, you can produce a justifier. If you can't appeal to background knowledge,
Why are you guys
I don't
calling each
see
other
what
names,
else
though?
you can appeal to justify the inference, right? But there's a disanalogy in the case of appealing to background knowledge when it comes to universes, right? So you're not going to have that as an option.
I'll explain to you why it's not.
So the
I'll explain to
question
you why
is,
it's not.
if you don't have
I'll
that
explain
as
to you why
an
it's not.
option, if you don't have that as an option, in virtue of what could you argue that some property is a
But-
hallmark of design?
Oh, Jack,
right?
Jack, hear me out. The universe is like so much more complex than the spaceship. Our
So you're
DNA
saying
itself is
complexity
way more
is the
complex.
relevant property.
I'm saying complexity. I'm saying when you walk into that desert and there's nobody there, and you see that
Asking, is
dictionary.
complexity the relevant property, in virtue of which something is a
I just-
hallmark of.
What? I'm saying
He's asking you to point to a property present in both cases within the analogy that would show those things were designed. It's going to be a property or a set of properties, but you're going to have to be
I'm
able to
gonna tell you a set of
specify what they
properties.
are.
I'm going to tell you a set of properties right now. When you go into that desert and you see that dictionary, nobody's there, isolated there,
Not
and you
an
see that
answer to the
dictionary.
question.
You
It's
open
not
it.
a set of properties. It's a question.
I'll explain to you its set of properties. No, I'm
Like,
not giving you
hold
a
on.
question.
Why are you asking him? Why are you using language like this? The guy doesn't even know what the word fucking property means. You need to like
that's the-
simplify what you're saying.
Oh my. So you see this book inside it. You open it. You see
So
it's got
they're
order.
just asking you why. They're just asking you why would you think that one thing is designed and not something else? And are you saying it's complexity of the thing is why you would think it's designed? Just complexity?
Can I just talk to Pogan or Venus? Because the only reason Jack jumped in, because he was white knighting for Pogan and Venus, because he knew they were about to get their asses beat by me.
Shut up! What's the reason that you jumped in, Godless?
To help the Muslim.
Thank you.
So you were white knighting. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I didn't even get to speak. I don't know how.
Can I talk to Is it okay for me to talk to Pogan or Venus?
Why are you
Yes,
asking permission?
First server god.
Well,
So I'm just gonna
if
predict.
Jack's like, no, you can't wait, Nathan. I'll just be like, fine.
That's not what he said.
Just talk to the Muslim. You guys
It's
can just talk
really
to the Muslim.
so the thing is, he's not really tracking the conversation. The problem is gonna be that he's going to have to provide some criterion by which we can determine whether a property is a sign for design or not. Okay, I don't think he understand. He doesn't understand that. He just keeps saying, "Well, if you're in the desert and you find a book," he's not really giving us a criteria.
You don't let me finish it, bro.
And if he appeals to intuition, then the problem is he is going to have to provide an account of how an intuition raises the probability of the proposition, or else he's just going to be equivocating on what justification is. And I really doubt that it's going to be able to do any of those two. That's just my prediction.
I've come this far, bro. I'm gonna finish as much as I can. Yeah, I promise you that I'm gonna finish as much as I can.
I admire your spirit.
You see this book. Yeah, you open it. It's got order.
Okay.
Number one. Order.
Okay, this is not an answer. This is not an answer to
Wait,
the question.
wait. Okay, we're in the desert. Okay, we open this book. It has order. It's like it has indexes and it's alphabetic and everything. Okay, go on.
Yeah. It's as chronological order.
Chronological. Okay. It has pictures and everything.
That's order. It has definitions and examples. Yeah. So that even the language itself is perfect when it's written.
It's perfect.
You understand? Like you can't. If you put a bag in a paper and in a bag.
Okay. The question. Listen. Stop. The question is this. Okay. We can grant that we're intuiting the book is designed, that is created by some mind, right? We're merely asking, why is it justificatory to say that in one case something was designed, right, and in the other case, presumably with the same properties, the other object was designed merely because of your intuitions? What is justificatory about that?
Because my argument is simple, man. My friend, look.
No. The universe. No.
Let him talk. Don't just say no, you dick.
We're stopping him because he's not answering the question. I don't know why we would allow him to speak if he's just going to go off on a tangent.
I'm answering it, bro. Like,
why is Pogan always policing his interlocutor, yo?
Because people have a bad habit of not answering questions.
This guy
is don't let him talk.
And he's honest, right?
Nobody is accusing him of dishonesty. Why is Concrete unmuted again? What is the purpose?
You're just trying to control how everyone talks, man. You're not helping.
He can't answer your questions. He's already said several times that you're speaking over him. Tone it down, dude.
He can't. He won't because that'll defeat his purpose.
Yo, Pogan. My argument was this, yeah. The similarity is that they both have natural order. What is the difference? The amount of order is way more in the universe. Like, it's so much more complex. Because it's so much more complex and it still holds all that much order, only common sense will tell us, yeah, that has to be designed too.
How does the dictionary have natural order?
Has order, I mean. Order. Chronological order, whatever.
You asked that question.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, I mean, there's like a big problem with that, but I think that's a bit too advanced of an objection, so I'm just going to try and raise a more simple objection that you might track. So basically, I think what you're doing is you're appealing to complexity. But then the question is, what makes you think that complexity is a sign of design?
What? More complexity of design?
So the property you're appealing to, that is analogous in both cases, is complexity. And I'm asking you, what is the argument that complexity is a sign for design?
Okay.
If you say common sense or intuition, then you're going to have to provide an account of how intuition raises probability. So you don't want to do that.
Okay, so I'll just tell you the way I know it. I know for a fact, yeah? I just know for a fact. There's nobody here, no one that disagrees with me and tells me no common sense points them towards them to tell them that it's not
about an appeal to popularity. Look, everybody, listen to me. Everybody in the room could agree that we have the same intuition, and that wouldn't be justificatory. right? We're asking why it's the case that if you're saying you have an intuition that order is a property of something being designed, right? Why it's the case your intuition would be a justifier. If you can provide an account for why that would be a justifier, you'd be in good standing. But the fact that it's merely an appeal to common sense in of itself isn't any sort of justification for your position.
So what would you take as?
Presumably
Let's say you help me. Let's say you help me. What would you say?
I was just going to tack on to that. Presumably, also, you want to avoid properties that God may have. Otherwise, you're just going to fall into an infinite regression.
Properties. God does not have infinite regression. I'll get into that later because we already.
It might be complex.
Look.
What if I were to say simplicity is an argument for design? Then what would that do to your complexity?
Simplicity. So you're gonna argue the opposite, basically.
Yeah.
Well then, I don't know if you're gonna be disingenuous or you're actually telling the truth.
Oh God.
Simplicity is actually a hallmark of good design.
You've said so far that the analogous. Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe somebody should try to explain like how there's going to be a regress problem with this kind of inference.
No,
right?
wait.
The idea.
I asked Pogan, with your understanding right now, how would you finish that off and finish it?
The idea is that if you think there's some.
I know you have the answer. Yeah.
The idea is that if you think there's some property that allows you to infer design, isn't that property going to be exhibited in the desires of the agent that is the designer? And that's just going to push the question back as to what explains those desires, right? So you're going to get an infinite regress of design arguments, right?
No, you won't.
Well, so the question is, let's just grant for the sake of argument, right? Because you haven't been able to defend this, but let's just grant it for the sake of argument that there's a good design inference there, right? Now, the question is, we observe that the agent has desires, right, that conform to this pattern that allowed us to make the design inference in the first place, right? They exhibit, the desires of the agent exhibit hallmarks of design, right? So why is it that we don't make a design inference there?
See, I was gonna run this objection, but he's not gonna track it.
Well, he's not tracking the objection.
To be honest, yeah, I'll be honest. If you guys want to argue against, the fact that there is this complexity could have been just in somebody else's eyes complexity, another person is not complexity, whatever. And you want to argue that somebody else might think this universe might not be created, even though it's so clear that it's consistent to say it is created.
But it doesn't. It doesn't matter if it's. It doesn't matter if it's consistent. Consistency doesn't mean anything. It just means it doesn't entail a contradiction.
I mean, at this point, look, at this point in the game, we sort of we've gone past and granted all. We've done what we can to sort of dismantle those, but we've granted it all now up to this point. Or Jack has, right? And he's saying, granted all that, how do you not fall into the infinite regression, right, where any property that you're going to look at in the world and go and say that's evidence of being designed, right? How are you not going to find that property within the designer itself, right? The intentions of the designer and the desires of the designer itself, right? And then be stuck in the infinite regression of saying, well, it has those properties, so it must be designed.
Yeah, no, here's the issue. Look, Allah, God, Ilah, whatever people call God, the main God, the Abrahamic God, is ever living. Ever living.
What's the relevance?
Meaning, its nature is to not be out of existence.
What? Again, I don't know why we would grant that.
That means even if you wanted to apply the design argument on God, You couldn't because it's nature. You're going against what its nature is. Its nature is.
You were just trying to make the design argument. What are you talking
Your
about?
argument wasn't an inference to a god. It was an inference to a designer, right? So the question is, given that there's an inference to a designer, why is there not?
I mean, we can.
Why is there not a further inference to another designer and an infinite regress of designers?
Because we told you we can't have an infinite regress of designers.
Yeah,
so
but that is just begging
no.
the question. You see, the point is simple. The point is if whatever property you pick out for the universe is going to be true of the designer's intentions, then the argument is going to go through. Doesn't matter what else you say. Therefore,
I also want to say,
I don't know. I mean,
why do you people keep interrupting Venus?
Just trying to interject. Well, go ahead. If
Shut
you
the
need
fuck
to
up.
finish your statement.
yeah, there was Wowie. You can speak. I don't know. I just lost my desire to talk.
I don't know, I
no
got cut off earlier, so I felt like I'd speak now, but it's okay. You can carry on.
I mean, it's a normal part of the dialogue for people to cut each other off. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a public VC. I don't know who that guy is. It's crying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay when I get cut off or when someone else doesn't.
He's
it's
special.
Okay.
He's special. He's special.
I'm not sure like how asking questions substantiates a claim though. So
See,
basically,
the point is this, right? There's going to
Okay.
be a basic problem with this kind of inference, right? Which is that you're going to end up either with an infinite regress, or you're going to end up with some brutally contingent fact, right?
This is why
Or
you
you're
don't.
gonna end
Why you don't
up-
listen. You weren't listening. You literally
or you're
weren't
going to
listening.
end up with a necessary fact, right? Now, the necessary fact isn't going to be something that can be established, right? Because for something to be necessary, you have to be able to demonstrate a contradiction involved in its denial, right? And the
How?
existence of God is not that kind of thing, right? Like there isn't any contradiction involved in denying the existence of God, right? So in order to say that God is necessary, one just has to assert without justification, right, that there's some contradiction involved in his denial, but we just don't know what it is, right? But you see, if that's available to you, right, to be able to say, to appeal to some fact as necessary without being able to demonstrate a contradiction involved in its denial, then the person can just say the facts are necessary one step down, right, and appeal to considerations of parsimony to reject that explanatory inference, right? And the same is going to be true in the case of a brute contingency, right? If you say it's just a brutally contingent fact that the designer had these desires, or it's a brutally contingent fact that there was such a designer, right? Well, again, the person who it wants to reject that explanation, right, can just say, well, we can just say this is a brutally contingent fact, right?
Wait.
So the thing is, you aren't actually solving anything. You aren't actually solving any explanatory problem, right, by positing these types.
I think it's going on, to be honest.
Hold on, logic. Can I wait?
You aren't solving any explanatory problem by appealing to these kinds of explanatory entities, right? Because the same problem arises in the explanation.
No, it
That
doesn't.
the explanation
Wait, hold on,
supposed to
logic.
be-
One second.
that the explanation is supposed to be solving, right? So if
Logic.
that's all that you're bringing to the table, right, you're not actually bringing any explanatory virtue to the table, right? And we might as well rest with the claim that some fact is itself necessary or brutally contingent.
Logic. What you're dealing with right here is a very sophisticated sleight of hand. So what they're going to do? What they're going to do? Excuse me.
I saw through that. Let him speak.
Wait, logic. Yeah. So what they're going to say is that you made your position and your.
Thank you. Whoever did that, seriously, thank you.
Oh,
Wait, I think Logic wanted to hear him talk.
Who cares?
I wanted to hear him.
What
Why?
difference does it make if he wanted to hear him?
It's
The point is, if we asked concrete, how is it a sleight of hand? What was he going to say? Just a bunch of garbage, right?
Bro,
Because that's all
I'm a bit-
concrete does. He's a garbage generator.
I'll be honest with you. Here's